So I'll first start with the overview of the case. So KaBOOM is a non-profit organization that was founded to build playgrounds in communities where children has no place to play. The main vision that guided KaBOOM is to provide a great place to play within walking distance of every child in USA, which is a tall order. Now their current strategy is a three-pronged approach called lead, seed, and rally. So the three prongs each individually can be assumed in one sentence. Lead, KaBOOM will build a playground with the help of donations from investors, of here in this case will be funders, and volunteers. For seed, it will be to help the communities build a playground, so they'll provide the tools to design the playground and also necessary funding if it's required, or connections if they need it. And for rally, it is to encourage the cities and towns to provide a play space or to open up a new space where children can play freely. So the main goal for this meeting is to discuss how we are going to scale KaBOOM's operations to be able to realize their vision of providing a great place to play within walking distance of every child. Okay, so let's start off with KaBOOM's SWOT analysis. So for SWOT, I looked into KaBOOM a little bit, and I found that they have like a clear and strong mission that they have not deviated since they have founded. And they also have a proven track record that actually could instill confidence in their ability to carry out what they have promised. And with their, how should I say, so they also have a wide number of partnerships that is continuing to grow with each successive playground they have built. And their community relationship is also one of the best in terms of like maintaining relationship. And their ability to pick out like communities that are needed is also accurate. And their weakness would be like any other non-profit organization, it would be like they are too dependent on funding. And another thing that they have pointed out is they have limited reach. Like trying to search for communities, especially where their service is needed, can be daunting. Even though they have not failed to find like every time they look for a community, they always successfully find one. But even they admit that they cannot reach everywhere. So here I found that one of the opportunities is like the rise of digital platform. So that means it's easier for them to check which community would benefit the most from their services, and also which community would really like align with their goal, and especially with their three, how should I call it, initiatives. And another one is government support. KaBOOM is one of the well-known non-profit organizations in the United States, and this will mean like they are able to work more with the government, especially with the municipalities and the town, like I think it's called regional like municipality around here. Municipalities. Thank you. And for drug, one of the main factors I would say is like legal and regulatory factors. So cities can have their own limits and what can be built and what cannot be built. And this could make it really difficult, especially when you want to build a playground that they kind of need a lot more space than probably for housing, because it also depends like other issues like traffic errors and stuff, so they have to take into account those as well. So anyone has anything they want to add on?
I think I would just add to some of the weaknesses that KaBOOM faces. I think their operation is too complex. I think they have too many factors involved, like volunteers, they have corporations they need funding from, then they're active in the government, trying to get them to help out in their mission. And I feel like they could first start to streamline their operations. Whether it's like making a proper platform for people to sign up to volunteer, or some other ways to sort of make it easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be more focusing on the seed initiative.
Right.
Creating online digital training, creating more streamlined processes, creating more access to microloans and volunteer opportunities. Because that's honestly where I think we should focus our effort is seed initiatives.
Right.
that offers like unparalleled scalability. If we're out there building the parks and managing the product or projects, that's a finite amount of resources we can provide as a nonprofit. If you build up the communities and create these sustainable relationships, that camera has a notification. Not sure if that's still filming. Okay.
It's
Still is not.
Okay, good. So we can create those sustainable relationships, and the communities will build upon themselves. Right? It's that old sentiment of teach somebody how to fish. They can eat forever, and if you just give them the fish, they can eat for a day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like starting like grassroots initiative is really important for like longevity of our mission, because we could like get like fundings and set up a lot of playgrounds, but we're not really sure about the future and the longevity of this mission. But, like it's really important to set up like a grassroots initiative.
And also adding to that is like the thing about volunteering. We also like we need people to volunteer to help with like organizing those playgrounds. But at the same time, we might have architecturists who can volunteer their free times that could also help with shaping like different playgrounds. Different playgrounds depends on the design for like the children in those areas, because we're targeting children like in poverty areas that could play in those areas. So basically, we can delay the risk. Yeah.
I agree with that, because I did a research on the website. It said that like they also have like, a natural playground that they literally have the rule like used by that. Not just really the playground that like they posted like in the picture at first, that they have just like literally playground like for kids. But so this means like they have like, so many style. And I also have a concern about the volunteer as well, because what about if they don't have experience about that? It's going to be about the quality in each place too. If they are not strong enough, and it's going to be like affecting the policy in the future.
Well, we do have project managers. It's not like there's not professionals involved in these projects monitoring. There is guardrails in place to limit bad construction, and also there's municipalities are involved as well on the rally side and the policy side. So we are up to building code, or they're not being built. So I wouldn't worry too much on that side. It's no different than Habitat for Humanity, which is a very similar organization that has expanded worldwide and meets building codes in hundreds of countries, right? I wouldn't call that a huge risk. Like, it's not one we need to mitigate just by virtue of what we do. One thing I did note though is mission drift is possible. So it's when you're doing these projects, we should be focusing on low income neighborhoods, areas that really need these. They're harder to access. It's harder to find volunteers. It's hard to get project manager operating out of those areas. So it's very easy for us to drift towards more middle class neighborhoods that are more accessible, that have more people willing to partake. And I think that's something we need to mitigate going
Yeah,
forward.
so that's also one of the issue with the state initiative that they also highlighted. So what happened is they are not in control. Like they will like give the connection, they will give the design, they could even give the funding, but they are not in control of anything. So that means like the fund that they could use for building a playground in a low income area might end up in a middle class area. Or maybe even it could be like in a high class area, maybe, like who knows? So
But like the whole mission of them doing it is that to make all those children access those playgrounds. But I understand your point of like building it's gonna be hard. The resources are gonna be hard because you're gonna make shipment from other neighborhoods like concrete or other stuff. That's your resources.
Yes.
So I understand that your point, but at the same time, like the whole mission is like giving them accessibility. I would say that probably not like in poverty playgrounds, like closer to areas with middle class, that not too far from areas that people cannot access.
Correct. But the issue is not so much that, it's the lack of control over where they end up.
Yeah.
So we would hope they end up accessible to lower income people, but they're not
Exactly.
all ending up that way.
Yeah.
So it's less playground placement, that's not really our forte. It's more how do we make it so people follow our goal wholeheartedly, because volunteers, you don't really have a whole lot of leverage over.
But also that calls into question, like, we could set up everything like we can, but But what about maintenance? Like, what if like the playground starts to deteriorate? Who comes in to like fix up all the problems? You know, like out of our costs or like our need for volunteers, how do we manage maintaining the playgrounds once they're set up?
Yeah, that's very case by case.
Right.
So again, part of the rally program is connecting municipal governments. I imagine we can collaborate with them to upkeep the parks, the same way they upkeep municipal parks. But, as you mentioned, that can be tough, and it's not consistent. So you're right, how do we monitor all these playgrounds? How do we monitor the 194 playgrounds we built last year alone, right? That was the question. Any ideas?
I would say like technically we use government funding for a lot of those cases, and also if we partner with different companies, let's say like this playground is sponsored by this company, this organization, so technically if that like organization cares about their image, so if anything happens in that playground, we could say like it's their responsibility of taking care of the coast because it's helping something like helping people in need.
Right, but the corporation gave us the money to put their name on a park, right? It's our job to upkeep it ultimately. They'll
Yeah,
just
we
not
keep it
sponsor us.
optimally, but the expenses are gonna be on their
True.
part.
Yes, absolutely. Corporate sponsorships will be how we fund those ventures.
And also what we could do is like for maintenance and stuff, we can kind of make, so corporates usually have what they will call like, what's it again, like when they try to give back to the people, like volunteering, I kind of forgot the best word for that.
Volunteer drives?
Yeah, no, not volunteer drive, it's kind of more like a, how do you call like not so
Public
generally.
service incentives?
Yes, that one.
So you mean like corporations will offer their staff so much time each year to go out
Yeah.
in the community and
So
volunteer?
that could also end up like an
Yeah.
event for the maintenance stuff, like for example, let's say Coca-Cola funded this playground, they can kind of designate, okay, this branch, you guys can take a day off for maintenance and stuff.
And, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also adding to this part, aren't like there more like students in high school that need volunteering hours? We could say like we could literally talk with so many high schools and around those areas saying, oh, we could give volunteering hours for like graduating for those students to come and help with those playgrounds. And they're gonna like it because it's a fun thing.
True. You can also partner with other not-for-profit and NGOs like the Duke of Edinburgh program, which incorporate volunteering into their student learning plans.
Like also companies like helping out for like nonprofit volunteering, they don't even have to take day off. I think there are like companies out there they pay their employees.
It's just a work day for them.
Yeah, it's just a
Shut
work
down the
day. They
branch.
put their company's t-shirts on,
Yeah.
they go out and work for
Yeah.
like
But, okay, you first.
I believe that we can go with utilizing tools like 3D modeling or virtual design walkthroughs or advanced project management, so we could efficient use of resources and reduce cost, and also speed up delivery without promising quality, and also facilitate better community engagement, allowing local stakeholders to collaborate on the design process and through interactive digital platforms.
Sounds great.
like leveraging like technologies like AI, we could optimize our way we set up our playgrounds and make sure they have all the like standardized needs that.
Absolutely. I don't mean to derail the conversation, but looking at the agenda, I think we kind of missed PESTLE. And I think if we cover PESTLE first, these performance metrics and technology-driven changes might make a little more sense. So do you want to spring
Right.
back on PESTLE first?
Yeah.
Sound good?
Do you want me to talk about that?
Colin can take it. Are you good?
I'll just let you guys take it because you guys have like a good idea, so.
Okay. You want me to talk about it?
Yes,
then?
please.
Yes,
Okay.
please. I'll let you kick it
So,
off.
for the PESTLE part, we have the political part. Let's say, through our opportunities, like our increasing government support for children health and wellness could align with KaBOOM goals, because especially in underdeserved communities. We can also like use the government funding for like hospitals, the children who have cancer
Oh, yeah.
that would love to go and play in those playgrounds because they're safe. And the rail initiative could benefit from these policies promoting play spaces as part of urban planning. And I would say from political threats, a threat of that, like a con and a pro of it, is what if the governments change their like priorities, like directly after helping us, which like reduce our funding for community development and could impact our like partnership with cities and reduce available grants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I talk about economics?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
for economics, the KaBOOM might affect like when they have like deflation because people would not like want to spend money when like they have like suffering about the money. But I am thinking that like maybe we can use like fundraising, a competition like to attract people to do a donation because I saw like on the website they said that like people can do a competition like to decide like, the playground, and I think that like we the KaBOOM can request the funding to the winner get the funding like, from the government, and I do know that like they did the playgrounds for over like 13,000 before. So that's mean I think that like they already had a result that they could show like to the government to request for the fund because that's how like the non-profit organization work.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
I would like to go with technology and legal factors. So it's like by leveraging technology by using advanced data and analytics and geographic information systems, so that is GIS something, and to identify areas most in need of playgrounds, like using mobile apps for community engagement and online project management platforms can streamline operations and allow the greater community to participation in planning and maintaining playgrounds. As of legal factors, we must ensure that playground design comply with local safety regulations and building codes. Like they also need to adhere to environmental laws when sourcing material or disposing of waste. Changes in child safety laws, for instance, like could lead to new requirement for the design and maintenance for the playground.
Yeah, on the tech side, we're already doing a lot of good things as well. We have our play planner and our architecture tools, and we also have data-driven analytics identifying, what's the term they're using? Is it play deserts? Does that sound right? Like areas that lack infrastructure for children to play on? Is that the?
I am briefly remember.
I believe play desert, but it's kind of a.
Play desert, yeah.
Is that the right word? Yes.
Yeah.
And so we're obviously tracking all of that stuff. So we already have some great data-driven analytics, which is really something I want to highlight as part of the value proposition. We would not have to start from scratch for things.
Yeah, it is.
Play desert, okay, perfect.
Yeah. And it's very easy, like with the digital age we're living right now. Like you can literally track your data and like look up on Google Maps any area you want, or like using satellites is so easy. Or like anyone to look up different places and to check if there's like, oh, is there a playground in that area, or like what type of like status people have in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. And even on the playground side, we have technology.
Mm-hmm.
So like the universally accessible playgrounds are really, like people don't always think of technology in the physical sense anymore, it's all of the digital tools.
Yeah.
But our actual physical technology is incredible, like being fully accessible regardless of ability to children is a huge tech factor that I don't think anyone else offers.
True.
For those of you who have been on a playground recently, which I suspect is none of you,
Well, I
they're
think-
not all accessible, right?
Yeah.
Children in wheelchairs cannot climb monkey bar.
Yeah.
You get the idea. It's like these
Yeah.
are very technologically innovative, very, very accessible playgrounds, and I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of that in the wild.
Yeah.
So,
And also like, we can also think of like weather factors also, like when it comes to building playgrounds. Because I don't know if anyone of you know, but sometimes slides, like I'm just gonna give an example.
Metal
They
slide?
build a metal slide. It's like trying to fry your own back, I would say.
you'll be sticking to the
Right.
slide, it's so hot. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh my god, yeah.
So-
Trauma.
So like, that's kind of like, actually, I could say everyone could relate it to that pain. So I feel like when it comes to building, like those are also like safety measures.
Yeah.
And that we could also offer, so.
Exactly, that's a good point. And also just building with, you go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, no.
It's like, are we, if we're talking about like environmental
Yes.
aspects now?
Yes.
So for like environmental, we could like attract donors and people by like using using environmentally friendly materials and products, so that we just don't target like generally we're like targeting specific different groups so that they can like help us and do more like, oh, they care about the environment plus the children, oh, that's good, like we can attract both.
And also, working with the environment, I feel like a lot of construction, we just have to demolish whatever's in the way.
Yeah.
But we could like, let's say if there's a lot of trees, we could like leverage that and make things that work with the trees, like put a swing down with a tree or something. Of course, it has to be secure, but
Integrated construction
right,
versus
integrated construction.
Or
base
maybe,
level construction.
or maybe we could use abandoned places, abandoned house, and we could use the material of those houses technically, and we build a playground on something that's been.
Maybe. I kind of,
Because
I-
like if we took a land, like we, like as an option of course, not like something we should like base our strategy on, it's just like we could use like land that's been already used and then restructure our playground on it so that we don't take extra land.
absolutely, like abandoned land would be great. I question the use of abandoned home materials because there's usually good reason they were abandoned, but the land would be a very
Like I
useful
mean like
asset.
the wood.
Oh yeah, like you could recycle, I guess you could recycle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever's recyclable.
I don't know why my first line
No,
of
no.
thought was lining the playground with asbestos.
No.
Like I figured like your first thought was like, oh, don't we had to mention all of this?
Okay, so this house is full of asbestos, let's use that for slab lining, it's kind
No.
of what I meant. That's not right, I apologize for that. Like the
No,
land,
no.
the natural, non-corrupted material, that's awesome.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I had some threats for environmental.
Sweet.
I was thinking that material costs would be more expensive if you use like environmentally friendly materials. I mean, this is kind of it's not a huge one, but I wrote it down as reducing kind of land space for other development. That's an environmental impact, and it's a little more difficult, maybe in some ways, for like stricter environmental regulations. When you try to fit in the environment, it's like there is regulations that could impact it.
Absolutely.
Like, oh sorry guys. So I remember like from my home country, we had like a playground where like the slide, you know, like the plastic slide, it was made from plastic bottles.
Cool.
Like a plastic slide literally from plastic bottles. Like they made people like whoever have extra plastic bottles like you don't need, you can just donate them for like through this website or like a place where you can just put your plastic thing, and they build like slides from those plastic things.
That sounds much better than paper.
And also like yeah, because like we're less on cost, we're more environmentally friendly because we're using resources that cannot be recycled because you have to recycle them all the time. We cannot obviously burn them. So and less costly because you're taking free stuff and from those free stuff you're making your own stuff.
Yeah, I used to think about that idea before, but using like a bottle. Like I do know that like CCS, Canadian Cancer Community Society, they do collaboration with like the toilet paper. Like every time that like we buy the toilet paper, they're gonna get donation from that. I think that like it's a good idea to like use that too. Maybe like buy the material that like people always use, buy like the bottled water.
So like corporate sponsorship, but on the fundraising
Yeah.
side versus the lobbying side.
Mhm.
That's a good way to go, I like that.
Yeah, like toothpaste, everything that people always use like, in daily life, and or maybe like we can like get a donation by the bottle from like the company, like to continue like the highlights idea too.
Right. And another just, it's a bit of a niche point, but a helpful point, is, are any of you familiar with the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals?
Mm-hmm.
So there's the 27 Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of the governments in developed nations now have huge amounts of funding available for
Yeah.
NGOs that are pursuing the Sustainable Development Goals as part of their mission. And we can hit well over half of them in building a playground. Things like creating green space in urban areas, things like operating in a net zero fashion can all be hit, and that can open new funding pathways in an environmentally sustainable business. So that's another great, it ties into a few factors. It ties into social, it ties into tech, it ties into financial, and it ties into the environmental.
And also one thing is like we're building playgrounds, right?
Yes,
Playgrounds can actually transfer to parks as well.
yes,
So
exactly.
we don't really have to be like strict, like it's just planting some like landscaping,
Mhm.
which can also help with the green space. So instead of just being pure playground, it can also be a park, which could mean like a community place where people go together. And that could also mean like a step up from our mission, but we're not deviating from our mission.
Absolutely.
Like eco-friendly playgrounds will significant opportunities for growth of KaBOOM, especially with the increasing global recognition of the importance like physical activity for children's health and development. And there is also an expanding demand for sustainable, like capitalize on by focusing on creating green and environmental sustainable play spaces, which will appeal environmental conscious donors and communities. Will socially grow interest by responsibility.
And I always get these two a little bit mixed up. I think there's more overlap than one. I think it's social and environmental, so I wanted to
Yeah.
hear what you guys have to say. So
So-
obviously we can focus in on areas that are seeing declines in families. Places like San Francisco is a good example of a place that simply lacks infrastructure for families to stay, so you're seeing rapid family drain. So we have the tools to create environments that are supportive to children. And we
Right.
really could focus in on those areas as well. It's a bit of an opportunity, a bit of a social factor, a bit of an
Yeah.
environmental factor.
Yeah, exactly.
And also another thing we could do is we could collaborate with schools. So for some of the schools, they want to build a playground, but they either lack the funding or they either lack the manpower. And you know how like public funding for public schools, they are always like a hit or miss. Some of the schools might have a more, some of the schools they might not be, depending on your districts and like municipalities.
And I would say like in some school the playground is not like that good. Maybe like we require to
Yeah.
improve it too.
Yeah. So that also kind of like a social aspect as well.
Yeah.
Like trying to improve playgrounds or like building a playground for schools can also help with the social aspect. But at the same time also make it easier, like how to call it, for us when it comes to like collaborating with the local community.
Yeah. I would say like targeting school that not repairing the playgrounds. Like of course they have to like help them with that. But I would say like school that does not even have a playground.
Yes.
So that those children does not have the opportunity to play in a great playground. They could have
Or like they could have a playground, but it's just like not how to call it, it's just barely there.
It's subpar.
Yeah, and we
Like
could
subpar,
like
yeah,
also
thank you.
use the students though, like the students
Yeah.
of the school by doing like a competition in that neighborhood, because in that neighborhood they might have like more than one school, two schools, saying like, oh, you have a project, you have to create like a game so we can put in the playground as like a final project, where children make their own games and stuff they can place in the playground. So whenever they come and play, it's like, oh, I created that, I did that, and they play with their friends.
Yeah.
Adds to that sense of community and responsibility pretty much.
Yeah, and I would say that like actually right now already have that program. Right now it's called like 25 in 5 initiative to end the place based inequality. By they're gonna pay attention by like the school, like building the playground, maintain the playground, and figure it out.
Nice.
Yeah, they already have the program.
Great program.
And it's about like they do not show about the funding yet that they have right now, because they are like collecting the money. Like their goal is 2,500,000 that they're gonna do it like to complete that in 5 years. So they do not literally have like the result of the money that they have right now yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I feel like KaBOOM could add this to their mission. One thing is like children these days they have their screen times are just too big. Like most kids, they just spend their time on iPads or on their phones or whatever. So we see less kids out playing on the playground like more and more. And let's say we build a lot of playgrounds, but no kid shows up because of this. We could like spread awareness amongst like parents or like governmental bodies to like control children's screen time to give them more how do you say this
Opportunity to explore outside of schools.
yeah
Is that what you're looking for?
yeah that's
Yeah.
exactly
Nice.
And it's more like an emotional message. We could like say by targeting the both, by saying if we do an advertisement or a campaign using marketing initiatives, we could say, oh, like showing a child like playing in a playground and saying, oh, like see how you should always be grateful, we have this opportunity, just making the parent realize, oh, we do have a playground, we should take our kids, plus we should help the children who does not have access to that playground by targeting like parents with children and making them feel kind of like a guilt sadness, I would say, because from that emotional like happy grant, that emotional aspect we could take a lot of fundraising.
Absolutely. No, I'm a big fan of fear mongering myself.
I think.
So you can talk about how children spend 7 to 9 hours a day on screens on average. You can talk about the links to delayed neurodevelopment. You can talk about the links to obesity. You can talk about the links to heart disease, diabetes. Really just scare the out of these people and get them into the park, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you can take that approach of children need this, like create that demand.
I think we can use like the storytelling like to post on social media by posting like the activity that KaBOOM like go to visit the student at the school and have activities with them, like show them like we put the playground for them on the social media, and I think like that can attract like the donation from donors.
And also like even when they do a playground, they could like open a live video or like have like an Instagram or like Facebook page opening a live saying, oh, we opened this playground for all the kids in this area, please come and play, and like opening the whole thing that they made in that playground just to spread awareness. It's like, yeah, we're doing this for your kids, for your kids to enjoy their time, to have quality time either by themselves with their friends or like a family quality time.
And that falls back into political factors. So if you want funding, you need to provide value.
Exactly.
In the world of politics, value is defined by how you can make the person looking for votes look good. So having those media events where you can cut a ribbon and say, look, I brought this park, are absolutely huge. They're probably a great way to garner some funding. So I really like how interconnected this all is.
Yeah.
Just in the spirit of time, let's push on to legal.
Yeah.
So legal, I would just say mostly it will be regulations. Like it's actually one of the front strike as well, because city have limits, like limitations on like where you can build, how you can build, and the building codes and stuff. But playgrounds essentially, they are also like a little bit more sensitive on that. Okay, you build a playground, that place has to be accessible, first of all. And even if they are accessible, what kind of like play instruments? I'll just say instruments or technology like slides and stuff.
What services are available within this playground?
Yeah. So some of the stuff could take a lot more space than other, and depending on how you design it, that space could not be like could push the legal boundary, and we might get rejected. And at the same time, if you're trying to like make it a small scale, it might not be appeal to kids because kids are more motivated. They want to try new things. But if you can like stick to one thing over and over again, they won't do that anymore. They would think boring and they won't come anymore.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about regulations, these aren't cheap apartments, they're playgrounds. You really don't want to build for the regulation, you want to be far in excess of it.
Yeah.
And that often creates the problem of where is my baseline, where do I set my project managers? It's really easy to follow the government regulations, you just do exactly as you're told and move on. But with something like this, it's a little more nuanced. You don't want to just follow the safety requirements, you want to exceed them. You don't want to just follow the accessibility requirements, you want to exceed them. You don't want to just follow the services offered, you want to exceed them. But that often leads into scope creep, right? Without a hard line to follow, it can creep up endlessly, get very expensive, get very over budget, and get very, very complex quickly.
And also neighborhood regulations.
Yes.
Like for example, in North America, they have what they call like a homeowner associations.
Yeah, like HOAs.
They have their own regulations and guidelines.
On top of the local government regulations.
On top of the local government guidelines. So those are kind of like red tapes after red tapes after red tape. And if you want to build a playground, you have to first deal with them. You have to make them like ensure that you know the regulation, but some of the regulations have to be broken because you're building a playground. And that kind of negotiation can take some time. And sometimes they might even reject it because they feel like, how should I call it, like HOAs, they kind of want more like a uniform culture of the neighborhood, and they don't want that.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Paula, you had a point?
Yeah, so like technically when thinking about the legal aspect, I would say like I was just thinking of like more like a legal and environmental aspect. It's like what, like, all those places they made, like, a playground should have an insurance, right? So like, what in case of like a hurricane or something happens and all of the stuff they made is like damaged or something? So they have to have like kind of like an insurance in all of those playgrounds, just in case something happens,
Yeah.
because it's not easy rebuilding.
I don't know that they have a disaster recovery bills is the name of the program of like a fundraising event
Oh, that's
to
good.
to rebuild the playground like post disaster and
Oh, they have like a risk of, yeah, that's good, that's
to
good.
all
Well-
disaster that happened, they will bill for that.
There is an issue with playgrounds specifically, an actual insurance, not Ringo funds, that's what most use.
Mhm.
Is general insurance of property does not cover what are called acts of God. So
Right, yeah.
it's not super common to see somebody drive a truck through a playground. It's more common to see a hurricane knock it down. And that's never covered by insurance, right?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, as you said, the only real pathway to is development funds in case of disasters.
Yeah.
Also, since we're targeting low-income households or areas, those are generally like not very safe areas too, like because the crime rate is really high in those neighborhoods, and like we need to ensure like the security and safety.
Like,
of,
and
you
they're
know,
not literally breaking the playground, they're breaking the material.
Well, that's the thing too, right? You will see vandalism, you will see
Right.
general tomfoolery and hooliganism.
Oh,
Of
God.
course.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life with playgrounds.
And
So
it
how do
also
we handle
go,
that?
it also go against our like, what should we call it, like goals of like making the playground accessible by fencing it and then like closing it from like 12 to 5 in the morning. But on the other hand, that's kind of like one of the issues we have to deal with.
I would say if we're building like in poverty places, it's either gonna be like not in the middle of nowhere, of course, it's gonna be, I would say next to a near school, near hospitals, so that those places are like supervised, so in
Right.
case if someone does something suspicious, there are adults around that area.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, a lot of it falls below the purview of the law. So there's no enforcement,
Yeah.
and that's just a reality. I'm not encouraging you to, but really it's not a crime to draw on a playground. It might be, but good luck ever getting enforcement of that.
And another issue is like, who has the, how should we call it,
Duty to.
duty to enforce the
this.
law, enforce this, like, because it's a playground, it's a public property, because it's on public land, it's open to the public. So will the government enforce the law? Technically, they have to, but
Again, in practice.
in practice, it's difficult. Because most of the time, whenever someone vandalizes a playground, it's usually teenagers or like kids.
Yeah, and again, it's an interesting topic, but it's not one you can risk mitigate. It's not
Yeah.
possible.
It's kind of like a hurricane, like, we just have to do our best, like, maintain
Yeah, like,
and stuff.
If
Have
it's
money
gonna
available
happen.
for when it happens.
Exactly.
That's all you can do, as you said.
Mhm.
Anyway, another thing would be intellectual property. That's a
Yeah.
huge legal
Yes.
nuisance, especially our software. It is virtually impossible to enforce IP ownership of software, because you have to prove not only is another company using your software, but it's hurting your, in this case, differentiation, not bottom line. So how do we approach the legal factor of IP? What do we do to protect our softwares and our designs and our systems that we have to build these parks? Any ideas?
Trademarks or copyrights to at least protect the name, but I'm not too sure about filing patents to like secure the software part, because that can be like really difficult, like Alex said.
Yeah, I would say like, since they have like a really good, a large amount of playgrounds they build around, so they're already well known and established. So of course they're getting funds like from the government, so at least from those funds they could keep aside so that they could use for like protection or like hiring people to protect their servers and stuff. And I would say, yeah, that would they do because they're a big corporation. But if it was like a starting new,
Yep.
I would be very
Yeah.
scared about that aspect.
Yeah,
But because if they're already like well known, they're known.
They're established.
Yeah.
But it would be kind of bad, like if somebody sues them because
Oh yeah, they're gonna
like,
suffer.
Yeah, because they're
And
And
building.
it's, you can also undercut us.
Yeah.
If you have access to our software, you can cut in other ways. Where we're focusing on environmental sustainability, you could undercut the material costs, but still use our systems, so you save yourself a lot of money, you can make a more competitive offer for funding. You can go to corporations and ask for less money to do the exact same thing, and that's kind of where making this defensible now.
Yeah, but I would say the only thing that is scary, like, it's not as bad as private corporations, but like those non-profit organizations, not scary unless the only thing that they do is bad considered if they play with their taxes, that they don't put like the amount they took and they play around with the taxes, they're saying, oh, we have this amount, or like fake it, like tax fraud. So I think this is the only issue that they're gonna be sued regard, but I don't think they're doing that.
That's true.
Yeah, or maybe about like the donor information release, about like the privacy that it might happen.
Yes, exactly.
That's why we could say, oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead, you go ahead.
I was gonna, do we think it's really a concern for other nonprofits to use like our software? Are we, even though they might not be doing like the environmental stuff we're doing, is it really like something we should worry about?
Spirit of maintaining a competitive edge, possibly. Because when you're an NGO, you do not make a profit, but you need money. If somebody can do it the same as you and cheaper,
Yeah.
they will fund that. Right? Nobody likes to spend more money, right? Generally. So it's the concept is the exact same. How do I? People kind of get it twisted sometimes. It's not how do I compete with a fellow business. It's how do I compete with another charity. And that sounds weird because we don't think of it as they're making money, but they are.
Yeah.
But it just, instead of sales, they have grants.
Mhm.
But every time you apply for a grant, you don't just say, Mr. Government, can I please have some money?
No.
You put in a proposal, other people who do the same thing put in a proposal, and a proposal is selected to complete the project. So having the access to our tools, but being able to undercut us in different ways gives them an advantage in those negotiations. And that's kind of where the concern lies.
I would say they care more about their reputation, to be honest.
And the reputation.
If they're well-known, non-profit organization, they're gonna care more about like they're competing on their image to consumer and competing on like, oh, you should support us more than them. So technically it's more like about news outlets that they care about how they view them, more than like the thing about money. Because like money is of course an important factor, they need it for like to actually operate. But what they care about is like people knowing them and helping them, basically.
Very true. And just one more thing before I forget about any comments,
Yeah.
put back and forth here. Labor laws.
Oh, yeah.
They get very convoluted with volunteers.
Right. Yeah.
Do we have plans in place to handle labor laws correctly? Do we have workplace safety in mind? Do we have funds established for injured volunteers? Do we have adequate rest periods? Do we have a lot of things? I don't recall seeing in the case how we handle that.
Yes, because they gloss over it, and most of the time it's mostly like corporate employees.
Yeah.
Like one is it because they're the one who's doing most of the work in like building the playground. But yes, like so if it is a corporate employee that's like doing the volunteer for their corporations,
Yep.
that will fall on the corporations.
They're covered under workers' comp.
So it will be okay, but if it is outside of it,
Genuine volunteering.
genuine volunteering, especially if it is with children, like one who comes to like building a step with children, or maybe it could be like just general volunteers. Yeah, it could get convoluted. But that's actually one of the risks we have to consider, like really carefully, because things can go wrong, and they will definitely go wrong. But it's just how bad it is. It would be.
And
if we want.
liability insurance payouts cost a lot. Holly, you had a point?
Yeah, regarding like specific talking about like HR practices, even if you're like a volunteer, let's say if we're creating like a website where everyone can like literally type in their information, either they want to be anonymous and or they wanna type in their information, they could just say on the website that their information is gonna be public, so that in case if they want their information to be public or they want it to be anonymous, it's their right.
Yep.
And also before like doing the volunteering and helping in playgrounds, they should have like a virtual training program where like they give them like, oh, you should be careful, you could be careful of this, that. And also most of our volunteers, you don't know, like we have so many different age aspects that could volunteer. Let's say people under the age of 18, they should have a consent from their parents and themselves, their legal guardian. And also the people who are volunteering, like older ages, they might even have more certificates. Like let's say they could say, oh, I have first aid. We could take that person who already had first aid and do volunteering with those groups, so just in case someone already has the skills.
Yeah.
And like makes us like less money we put into making them actually go through a whole course of like safety in a workplace, safety blah blah blah. We could use this, like those people who have those certificates, we could use that to our advantage.
Right.
Yeah, I agree for like doing a certificate because like it's gonna be approved to let other people know that like they had experience about like the building the playground before, and I believe that like it can like show that to do about the other training that is about like construction too in the future. Maybe like we can like collaborate with like the government to show that like hey, this person like have experience like for this one before. What about the, like if they want to make it like to be a job in the future, like what is the certificate can do about it? Because I know that like I'm doing volunteer at like not at our civil society right now, and they also do that as well, like to like get a training and you're gonna get certificate, and after that you're gonna get to be like in the program for about like the healthcare. It's like
I get you.
That makes sense.
So integrated training, Paula, what's up?
And also like, as you said in the case, they're like in so many different states and every state has its own officials. So before anything you do in any state, you of course you have to talk to the officials of like the government. So even if you give your proposal to the government, just like we're gonna be expanding, and also we're well known, and they actually if they search it up, they're gonna know the business and what's the mission about. So putting that proposal and talking to them, we don't even know, they might give us volunteers, like people who already work in the government that could help us and aid us with like resources, money and stuff. So that could be like a huge point because we have the government on our side. Because if you wanna do anything, you have to have like the green light from those people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so what I also think is like building a playground is not really complicated.
yeah.
Because most of the time, what most like company would use, like if it is private, that I remember correctly from my country, it's kind of like IKEA furniture basically. Like they already have parts and everything, they would just assemble it.
Yep.
So what we will do is like we already have the parts already, so we just need to assemble them. And then there's like an inspection. So the risk of volunteer getting injured is low. It's not always zero because things could go wrong. That is really, really, really low. Just because the volunteers are not dealing with a lot of like sharp stuff or like they're not doing soldering, they're not like I mean there might be some drillings and stuff, but that will be handled by like appropriate person.
Talking to like flexible upscaling, like for employees, we can also use employees from previously involved and led projects that already have like past experience and would love to volunteer again because we already have their information. We could like reach out, say, oh, we're doing this project if you're interested, by sending them like email messages like, oh, we're doing this in that place, it's near your city, if you wanna help or anything, and having their consent of course. And they might like provide like their upskilling either by like doing it virtually or in person by saying, oh, they could meet those people or volunteer through an online meeting saying, oh, I was in this experiment, I did that, I did this, just be careful of this, that, and that we're just lowering costs of like hiring specialized people doing all those sorts of stuff. By making them like have a contract, like specialized people, having them have a contract with us like for like a specific amount of time, let's say a year or 6 months max, so that they can volunteer like at least 2 hours of their week, where they could like do video chat with all the volunteers and all the people who went through the training, say, oh, this is the day it's gonna start, we're gonna help in this, help in that, and sure like all of the people we have are available, and also we have backup people. So just in case someone could not show up, someone can show up.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you guys already give a lot of like insight.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just go into like how each like VP will think, like in terms of like the strategies,
Yeah.
like the initiative. So let's start with finance. Yeah, that's our lifeblood. Okay.
So some of our key financial indicators, so we revenued $25.03 million. And our revenue growth is 14.8 year over year, and this is the 2011 to 2012 year. Then I guess go down. Our cost per playground was approximately $103,000, which is 17.31 million per 167 builds. So that's pretty good cost, in my opinion. And then I did have a concern on the website spending. It's $2 million a year, and we're only funding 6 employees with that number to do like support and stuff like that. So I thought that might be a concern with, because even if we're paying each employee maybe even $100,000 or something, that's still that's $1.4 million in website development a year, which seems like a lot of money to me. So I thought we could look into that. There's no, on the case, didn't look like there's any specifics or anything, but at least a concern.
Certainly is a questionable number.
Yeah.
And we don't know whether it's majority of it's on the server side, security side, or just
Exactly.
So that's a good one.
Is this all front end? Because that doesn't
Right.
matter. Is this all back end? Because that makes no sense. There's no
Yeah.
reason we should be spending that. Is kind of the
Yeah.
point.
Or like we kind of want to know which one we are spending, because we're a charity, so we have like there's on the responsibility to be transparent with especially
donor, with
finances.
stewardship of donor funds in mind. for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Great points.
Okay, so let's move on to donor relations.
Yes, I do know that right now, KaBOOMs have like built or improved over like 13,000 playgrounds already, and it's really good, the relationship like around USA, and they earn like the annual revenues exceeding like to around like $25 million already. And right now they pay attention to like the 25 in 5 initiative aims to like raise to 2,500 million over in 5 years and in like 25 location, and this is really like a good fundraising that they have right now. And there was wait a second. For how to attract more donors, I said earlier that let's go visiting like in each school and have activity with the student to show like the storytelling like by social media to let other people know that like how active we are, and we can attract like the donors by that. We can keep like the good relationship by sending them by like a thank you note, by writing like by CEO that is gonna show that like how sincere that we have like by the KaBOOMs. And we can improve the donor benefits by having an event about like appreciation for the volunteer and for donors to like know that like to always keep like being active with them and have activities that like allow them to go and have activities at like fundraising events. Yeah, and always open up to let like the donors and volunteer like to express their opinions, how like we can improve like the KaBOOMs.
Absolutely. Transparency and expressing appreciation.
Yes.
Okay, Hala.
Hi, Lizzie.
It's alright.
VP, okay, HR. So looking through like the key roles needed for our every project, like the project managers for lead builds to oversee large scale playgrounds, construction projects and coordinates with corporate sponsors. Second, community engagement specialist for SEED, focused on supporting and guiding communities through the DIY process remotely. Advocacy and partnership managers for Relay to foster relationship with city officials, manage the Playful City USA initiatives, and expand the map of playground programs. Training coordinators to provide orientation and ongoing training to new and existing staff across initiatives. Support specialists of the DIY platform, providing technical assistance and troubleshooting for communities using KaBOOM online resources. And moving on to like the recruitment and training strategies. Recruitment, since like comprehensive scaling will require multiple new hires across various roles. Implement a phased hiring plan to prioritize immediate needs and onboard employee gradually to align with project timelines. Considering partnership with recruitment agencies specializing in nonprofit roles or community engagements. Training, develop a standardized onboarding and training programs focused on KaBOOM value, project-specific skills, and community engagement best practices. Giving the variety of roles they have, use of mix of online models, workshops, and in-person training possibly tailored for each initiative. Cross-functional training, training employees on a mission and goals of each initiative so that they can work collaboratively and support each other during resources intensive project. And yeah, that's the HR.
Okay.
Great points. Onboarding is huge. Recruitment and retention.
Exactly.
Like it just feeds all of it. If you have a good onboarding system and you offer training, people will want to come and they will want to stay. So it's amazing points on it.
And also like we can also consider like the casual or like volunteer basis
Yeah.
for like some of the key roles like for building a playground. Like for someone that has experience working with using tools and stuff, they could give like a short guide on like how to use these to how to handle them safely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
that would be like a good
Yeah,
one.
as you mentioned your point, like you know, like construction people who have children, they might want their children to have experience before working in construction. It's like, oh, I have my child, he knows how to do those stuff. You can go and help.
And if you have people to give those lessons, you can film.
Yeah.
So Dewall is a tool company. They have an entire social media series of like construction advice from retired contractors.
Yeah.
And you can have stuff like that, just have a centralized training inventory, so it'd be great. I believe I'm up next, right?
Yes, you are.
My favorite part where I get to talk.
I
I think I'm joking, but I'm not. Okay, so we have 3 key programs, obviously, Lead, Seed, and Rally. I really wish Rally rhymed. It's almost a little bit disappointing, but we'll get into the current performance first. So Lead is a great program. It's kind of our direct playground builds. That's where we step in and we plan and we implement. So we had 167 builds in 2012. And 94% of those builds were in low-income communities. We directly served 248,155 children. Absolutely incredible reach, incredible impact. Challenges are the resource heaviness of it. We have to do everything. We have to plan, we have to execute, we have to implement, we have to maintain. The bottlenecks of project management and logistics can create some issues. Obviously, supply chain management is a problem. Obviously, finding qualified project managers can be difficult. There is a lot of expense associated with this versus our other
As
challenges.
a coordination.
And coordination is, we have a little bit more leeway and control over this than our other pathways, but it's still hard to coordinate across the country.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no such thing as cross-country coordination that is simple, so being centrally monitored, it can lead to some difficulties. The impact of expansion on this would be increased strain on staff and resources, and it can kind of limit our scalability. So we can grow at a rate, but it's not the fastest rate, since we have to maintain involvement.
And
It's
also
not-
supply and demand.
Exactly, the demand is endless. Our supply of playgrounds is not endless. So that's kind of Lead. Now Seed is our DIY playground build program. So that's kind of where we provide the expertise, we provide the support, we provide the funding, but we do not involve in the builds. We built 1,913 playgrounds in 2012 through the Seed program. There was an impact for over 1 million children. So that is
That's insane.
really phenomenal. I don't think people realize that's 1,000,000,000.
That's 1% I believe.
Exactly.
Well, one and that's a zero, sorry, a zero.
That is the entire city of Halifax influenced by the SEED program. Challenges are limited control due to the volunteer nature and the expansiveness of the projects. We don't have a whole lot of location equity, and long-term quality assurance is very, very difficult.
And also, here I will also say like the IB, what do you call it, IB issues.
The IB
Because
issues, yeah.
they are using our tool, but they are building their own design. So who owns that design?
Exactly, so it gets into a little bit of, well, we paid for it, and you used our stuff to make it, but who really owns it? And
so
that's
do
a
we have a
never,
say on that?
that's a never-ending debate academically as well when you see these types of projects, but the big thing again,
We could write all their names in the playground, like you know the playground that like has the credits.
yeah,
We can put
the
that.
founder's plaques.
Exactly.
Yes.
And another thing I will say is like that one reason I say is like who owns the design is because sometimes when it comes to maintenance, they will be like, yeah,
Nobody owns the design when it comes to
Yeah,
maintenance.
so that's also why I find out because they will be like, oh, they use KaBOOM to do that. KaBOOM funded that, so KaBOOM should take care of it. But the problem is we were not involved in any of the steps.
So the strength of the SEED program lies in its high scalability. It doesn't require much effort on our end. It's very passive. We can do it endlessly. We built almost 5 or 7 times more playgrounds through SEED than we did through LEAD. So while there is issues with things like mission drift as well, it's kind of harder. It's harder to maintain our core tenants when other people are building. It's insanely scalable. There's never-ending demand for these playgrounds. There's lots of people out there who want to build them. So we can basically scale endlessly this way.
And we're also just teaching them, so.
And we teach them, and then the community sustains it. They maintain the park. They cut the grass. They build the park. And that's a very big benefit. Now, our last program is Rally, and that's the Playful City USA program. So in 2012, we had 213 cities recognized, and that kind of promotes policy level advocacy. So we are going to municipal governments, and we are helping to rewrite policy, and if they can meet our goals, we assign them a title of Playful City within the USA. So it gives this incentive for policymakers to green stamp their city as a place that is good for children to attract families.
And also like when it comes to development plan, they can also consider like, hey, if we had, how can we add a playground in here, or like if we had a playground here, how would this affect?
Exactly. It loops in Uncle Sam, and that's a big, big thing. It's very important.
And also many people, like when you think about it, like if, let's say if my parents lives here, like we're gonna go to a different area and they have like brother or sisters and like still in school, they would look for an area that has a playground.
Well, exactly. So that it basically takes our mission, overlays it with policy, and incentivizes the municipalities to comply with what we need, so they can get a stamp of approval that attracts families, which boosts their economy.
Yeah.
So you're basically creating this comorbid mutual benefit. It's a symbiotic relationship,
Yeah.
if you will. We attach onto those cities, and we take their money, and we influence their policy, and in exchange we bring them better programs, more publicity, and families. Challenges are abundant here. It's difficult to ensure the city translates this recognition into action.
Yeah, I saw on the website right now they do not do just like very, very random like states, but they just like started like by specific state first because it's just something like at like the round, not at the middle first. So I think that like if we pay attention like by open the program, I'm not really sure how like we can do training if we do online because I'm not really sure that like how it's gonna work for that. But if you pay attention by state first, I think it's gonna be easier than like for training to do volunteers.
Yeah, exactly. Well, with Rally, it's more like policy is one thing,
Yeah.
practice is another, and it can often take years to implement.
And just another idea, I'm just thinking that like what about a volunteer that they like collect the time that how often, how many times that they have to do like to build a playground. It can show up to be like on the like information that like how many times they did that before, and it can like relate to like their job in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair, but it's more of a again, it's symbiotic, as in I benefit, you benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The cities don't wanna put that much effort into it before they know they're getting something back. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be great if we could say you need to build 6 parks and then we make you play certified. But they're not gonna want to be play certified if they don't know what benefits them first.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I mean? So it's not like I stand here, you stand here, and we high five. It's more, I go this way, you go this way, we meet in the middle, and then we keep benefiting.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the issue with Rally is it's very difficult to translate the recognition we give into action. And the impact on expansion would be the broad influence with minimal operation costs. So we have the ability to influence these municipalities, and it doesn't cost us a whole lot to advocate and lobby. But it's very reliant on the municipalities following through. So
It's passive in a way.
it's very passive. It's very much a performative thing at its core that you hope translates into action.
Yeah.
So that's but luckily it also costs basically nothing. A couple
It's just-
lobbyists can easily handle the cities. It's not a huge administrative burden. So obviously the operational improvements, there are some to make. We're doing very well, I think. 1.25 million children reached, 2,000 playgrounds built, 213 cities play certified with modified policy. We're doing great. So for LEAD, we need to digitize the project workflow, hire additional project managers, and streamline volunteer coordination back to HR, back to technology. For SEED, we need to enhance digital tools for equity tracking, expand outreach into the underserved areas, and introduce some more quality assurance measures. So right now, we do have measures. We do use our own planning software. We do help with material allocation, but we do not have a whole lot of KPIs surrounding the parks.
Yeah.
And it's hard to quality measure 2,000 playgrounds.
And also like depending on the neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
We don't really have like a standard.
And we don't have contacts.
Yeah.
I feel like our KPI should be like, let's say it's not amount of how many we build playgrounds,
Yeah.
it should be on our achievement of achieving that playground in those areas. So let's say like we could do like KPIs like the initial phase, introducing the idea, having government funding. Let's say we have a proposal, then building that playground using volunteers. And we could track it by months and just have a timeline of like the finish date of that playground.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and we have to take into perspective the weather.
Yeah, weather, supply chains,
Yeah.
budgets,
Yeah.
schedules. There's a million and one things that go into construction.
Yeah.
None of them are simple. Very few of them are trackable. So at the end of the day, we just need to kind of establish what we care about. So things like percentage in underserved communities, playground utilization would be a good one. Community surveys would be a great way to track that. But you could go on for a few hours about that, but I'm seeing we have 10 minutes, so I'm going to speed myself up here. Rally standardized measurable action plans. That's the big thing. It's just actually not just lobbying to the cities and saying we pinky promise you we'll do this. It's we want you to do this, then this, then this, and also establishing mentorship programs to help them follow through. Having policy experts who can support them on our side in implementing these things is going to be what really makes Rally shine. So just a quick workflow analysis. LEAD is very high touch. It's a linear process. We need to automate it and expand capacity. SEED is very low cost. It's very scalable, but it requires more oversight and tracking. Rally is advocacy driven. It has virtually no overhead. It needs more accountability metrics to ensure that. So the risks and rewards for scaling all three are balanced growth, preserves our credibility, it drives our reach. But we also risk overextension, resource inequity, and there's obviously risks in do-it-yourself builds. I'm not gonna bother focusing on Rally because I simply do not think that is the path this country should take.
Okay. So let's go with community relations.
Yeah, most of the stuff was covered already by you guys in the discussion, but I'll go over it. Strengthening community selection, community and selection matching. Refine the community partner screening process to ensure partners are fully prepared and committed to post-build maintenance. And using data and path builds to create a checklist or scoring system can help prioritize community with strong leadership structure, high engagement potential, and alignment with KaBOOM's mission. And simplifying volunteer coordination, build digital tools for volunteer management to reduce logistical overhead. For instance, an online platform like Hal talked about, volunteers who have already worked similar jobs. They can be helped match to this future jobs or some place online for them to train themselves or have a video call with other volunteers. Streamlined volunteer coordination would ease administration burden, allowing KaBOOM staff to focus more on community relationship building. And strengthen community relation by establishing post-build supports. And I think Julie touched on this, and having promotional events after like reaching certain goals to celebrate what volunteers and the community has done to establish those playgrounds, and that could also help leverage the PR and would spread the word to other communities.
Thanks for the input. CDO?
Yeah, it's like KaBOOM has leveraged technology effectively in its growth journey, but scaling will require further enhancements, like our successful rollout of a new CRM system through Salesforce, like for example, enabled us to streamline donor data management, but leading it to 25% of increase in donor engagement. This type of technology upgrade will be critical as we look to expand. Also, we should consider implementing AI-powered analytics platforms from beta data-driven decision making. So similar to the pilot program like we ran with Microsoft AI for Good initiative, this tool provided predictive insights into volunteer turnout and project completion times, improving planning accuracy by 15%. And there are risks, like however with implementing new technologies such as disruptions during the transition period, and phased implementation starting with the most critical upgrades like enhanced data analytics tools will help mitigate this risk, and align our technology roadmap with our strategic growth plans will ensure that we build a scalable infrastructure capable of supporting all the expanded operations.
Okay, so everyone has given their input, and it was a good discussion. So now we have to decide on how we are going to move forward. So right now we have two options: stick to the initial plan, try to scale up all three of the initiatives at the same time. And the other one is we're going to take a more strategic approach, which means we'll decide on each of the approaches and then see which one could be scaled, which one could remain the same, or which one we kind of just let it be, and also which area we could improve upon, or even we can even try to decide on which kind of initiative we can add. So I'll take a vote here for this one. So everyone for option one.
So hands up if you would like to pursue a continued scaling of all three programs. So would you like to continue building up lead, seed, and rally?
Okay.
One.
Lead, seek.
Okay. So option two is target one of three. So this is going to be a two-part vote. Hands up if you would like to target one of the three. Okay. Now, hands up for which of the three? Hands up for lead. Hands up for seed. I'm gonna say hands up for rally just in case somebody wants to vote, but I do believe our final conclusion will be to.
So I'll say, well, we can kind of decide on which one of the initiative we want to focus more on in depth in the next meeting.
Yep.
But for now, I would go with everyone agree that we're going to take a more strategic approach.
Not everyone.
Well, not everyone, but even you can agree that.
I respect the decision, but.
No, I mean, even you will agree that trying to expand everything will be overextension on our side.
So we can all agree targeting one of the three
Yeah.
strategic initiatives is more beneficial than trying to scale all three equally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's a good conclusion. How do you guys feel?
I feel like it's okay because like at the end of the day we're trying to like if we focus on one thing rather than focus on the three things, because focusing on three things is gonna take us more people and we're gonna
and the risk of overextension is also possible. Like I wouldn't call it burnout, but we might not be able to manage as effectively as we will want to.
You could stretch yourself over the day.
Yes.
This is,
Okay.
that's a great meeting.
Okay, so we'll conclude the meeting here.
Yeah.